Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another Rookie Card Collector 123 video. In today's episode, I'm going to continue my series covering pre-war baseball. I'm covering currently the tobacco sets from the early baseball days. And the set I'm going to cover today, it's the third set I'm covering now. I did the T200 Fatima team cards previously, and also the T3 Turkey Red cabinets. And neither one of those groups are easy to find cards. But compared to today's subject, those are going to seem like a dime a dozen almost. The set I'm going to cover today is probably the number one on the list of rarities amongst tobacco cards of the pre-war baseball era. And also in terms of values and current prices in the market, probably one of the highest average prices for any card, any subject in the set of any tobacco set that exists from the pre-war era. So the set I'm going to cover today is the 1911. It's cataloged as T as in Tom and the number 5, so T5. They're called Pinkerton cabinet cards. These are different than the more common Pinkerton postcards, scorecard backs, or blank backs. The cabinet cards are actually much rarer. So if you thought you've seen a few Pinkertons in some of the YouTube videos and thought they're pretty rare and population numbers under 10, I would say the majority of these T5 Pinkerton cabinet cards, the population based on the original cards advertised as being part of the set for many players is actually 0, so they've never been discovered. The cards that have been discovered, the majority of them have either one copy, maybe 2 copies. I think the single highest quantity is somewhere around 4 or 5. And those, as you would imagine, those are the biggest name players. And I'm going to talk about some of the biggest cards in the set in a little while. But in general, the Pinkertons were what was called true cabinet cards. So they're actual photographic images that were mounted onto a thick cardboard backing, or in some cases a thinner, almost paper backing type thing, if they were not the original thicker cardboard mounts from the studio photography. Those are going to tend to be worth less than the true cabinet card mounts from the studios. So these are going to be, as I said, real photographs mounted onto thick cardboard backing. The advertising from the Sporting Life and Sporting News and other literature from that period, 1910 era, advertising indicates there were 376 subjects available as part of this T5 Pinkerton cabinet card set. So it's a huge set. Like I said, many individuals from the set are not known to exist or have never been confirmed to exist. So even though we have a checklist that might include that many names, the numbers with as far as known examples is going to be far lower than that. The way you were able to obtain these did not come with any tobacco packaging. You collected 10 coupons from 10 different tobacco products. You mailed them in, and you got to choose one of 376 subjects that were available. I'm not sure if all those subjects were available at the same time. Possibly there was a staggered listing, which may be changed over the months during 1911. I'm not 100% sure that the 1911 issue date didn't extend beyond that, or distribution date possibly extended beyond 1911, maybe into 1912 or so on. The predecessor, this company that issued these Pinkerton cabinets, tobacco company, was the predecessor to the later Red Man tobacco products, which are still available, still in existence today, Red Man tobacco. So Pinkerton was the original company, later branched off into Red Man during the 40s, 50s, and that's when the Red Man tobacco baseball cards were issued from 52 to 55. Again, those are not the easiest cards in the world to find, definitely a lot tougher than the Topps and Bowman issues. But compared to these T5 Pinkerton cabinets, it's a whole nother world. So within this set, I mentioned 376 subjects, players from all 16 major league teams, 8 teams from the National League, 8 teams from the American League were included. In addition, there are players known from the American Association, which was probably the equivalent of the highest AAA level minor league system during that era, 1910 era. And also, interestingly, another league that was covered is the Southern Michigan League, which I do not believe had the same caliber of players as the American Association did, which kind of leads me to believe that possibly these cards were issued more on a regional basis as opposed to nationally. And maybe in the Michigan area would make sense to have the local Southern Michigan League teams available. Some of those players, of course, might be more popular, being the local state club. So that's just a guess on my part. I have no information to back that up. And I believe there's also other minor league organizations, teams that possibly were included as well, since we don't know the full checklist and we haven't documented all the individual players. It's probably going to be impossible to ever determine that. The measurements of these, excuse me, the photograph itself measures 3 3/8 by 5.5. And the cardboard mounts, excuse me, the cardboard mounts measure 4 3/4 by 7 3/4. So those are pretty much standard measurements for a typical cabinet card. Cabinet cards were more plentiful in the 19th century, the late 19th century, and the first decade or two of the 20th century. After that, they kind of started to go away for the most part. So those are the dimensions. They easily fit inside today's PSA or SGC grading holders. The photos mounted on the thick cardboard backing, the cabinet card part of it, the mounting came with different borders surrounding the photo. Sometimes it was a more ornate, fancier border that might have been embossed even, and the photograph was attached with that type of border surrounding it. Sometimes it was just a simple white square or white rectangle that went around the real photograph. So there was different types of mounts used and different levels of, I guess, how fancy the mount was produced. In following years, not too much later, from 1913 to 1915 primarily, the Pinkerton Tobacco Company would use many of the same photographs from this Pinkerton cabinet card series to produce another set, which is more common. These are the either Pinkerton postcard backs. Some of the photos were made with scorecard backs to score a Major League Baseball game, or some of them were blank back photos where the back of the item was just blank. So you had 3 different scenarios in addition to the 1911 cabinet cards, which were the first series ever put out by Pinkerton. And like I said, for the most part, they all used the same images and just different ways of presenting those. And I know several YouTubers have done videos at least showing some of the key cards from some of those other Pinkerton sets, the postcards, the scorecard back, and the blank backs. So I'm not going to get into those at this point. So being such a rare set, but having 376 subjects, at least that was the intention when the series was issued. As you can imagine, there's a lot of the biggest stars of the day were included in there, and just about everybody was as of the 1911 time frame. So Cy Young had just retired, so he is not included in there. But the biggest names that were included were going to be Ty Cobb, and Ty Cobb appears in 3 different images within this set. There's a few of the biggest name players that had multiple images or multiple cards produced in this T5 series. Cobb was one of them. Christy Mathewson was included in there. Eddie Plank, Walter Johnson, Napoleon Lajoie has 2 different images. Joe Jackson, Tris Speaker, and Hannes Wagner has 3 images as well as Cobb. So probably at that point in time, the 2 biggest stars in baseball, Cobb in the American League and Wagner in the National League, both had 3 different images produced. Just about everybody else had 1. There might have been a couple of more duplicates. But they're all unique images. And like I said, to find any of these, even common players, in many cases, the common players actually tougher to find than any of the biggest name players. Because again, the public, when they received these coupons and they mailed them in, they could choose which player they wanted. Most people are going to choose either a player from their local team or the biggest stars of the day. So that would lend itself to the fact that the common players are the least number of surviving examples, which tends to be the case. So I'm going to show now. I've got six different cabinet cards I was able to research and pull up copies. Many of these are either the only known example that exists, or possibly there's a couple of others. So let me get started. I'm going to show 6 of them, like I said, and I picked the 6 biggest names that I was able to find. The Mathewson, I was not able to find even an image of that one. And Tris Speaker, I was not able to find an image either. So the first one I'm going to show here, this is Ty Cobb. And if you're familiar with the Pinkerton, the 1913 to 15, the scorecard or the postcard backs or the blank backs, you might have seen this image before. It appears on those. And like I said, those are as rare as they are. Those are much more common than you're going to find one of these. So this is Cobb leaping for a ball. It's got his name and his Detroit AL, I believe, abbreviation. There's a white box just by his feet on the grass there on the lower part of the photo. And this photo's got borders around it. Some of them do, some of them don't. But incredible rarity. This would definitely be a strong five-figure card today. In almost any condition. This one's got a couple of chips on the corners, so probably would grade authentic, and still, like I said, probably strong 5-figure card. Okay, next one we're going to look at is the biggest one in the set. This is Joe Jackson. This again, 1911, so he's with Cleveland very early in his career, right after he left the Connie Mack's Philadelphia A's and went over to the Cleveland Naps with Nap Lajoie. So Jackson here in a fielding pose. This one exceedingly rare. I think there's only a couple of these known to exist. This one's in an SGC holder. Because Jackson has such few career contemporary cards, and this is very early in his career, this card, if it did come up today for public auction, without a doubt would be a 6-figure card, somewhere in 6 figures, maybe low to mid 6 figures, I would guess. Okay, next one we're going to look at is Walter Johnson. And this one again, it's got Johnson's name in a white box below his feet at the bottom of the image. It's got the team and the AL designation. Again, 1911, very early in Walter Johnson's career. Only been in the American League a few years at this point. This one's graded by SGC. And it looks like an SGC4, I believe, which is a very high grade. Most of these that have been graded are either authentic or one. A lot of times there's pieces missing from the corners. And due to the rarity, you really can't be too choosy. If you pass on one because of damage or condition issues, there's a very good chance you might not see another one of these for many years. Just as an average, like this Walter Johnson here, doing the research for this video is the first time I ever saw this image. So I've never seen one of these for sale ever. And something like this might come up once every 10 years. The Joe Jackson I've seen a couple of times, and the Ty Cobb I've seen mostly in the postcard format. Okay, so let's move on to our fourth example. Okay, this one's Snap Lajoie. This one's in a PSA holder. And this is another unique pose. I never saw this card before ever until I did the research for this video today. Either in postcard form or this cabinet card. So really amazing pictures, images on these cards. And the grading holders really frame it well and present it very nicely. Okay, moving on to example number 5. And this one's going to be Eddie Plank, the star left-handed pitcher for the Philadelphia Athletics. This one's in a authentic holder. It appears the cardboard mount has been trimmed down, probably to fit in a frame, maybe back in the day, as these are kind of large. The trimming on this one wasn't all that straight, so it's got some wavy borders, which kind of gives away the fact that it was trimmed. But nonetheless, fantastic Eddie Plank image. I don't think I've ever seen this image before on any card, and definitely never saw this Eddie Plank Pinkerton come up for sale or auction ever. So another super rarity. And the last one we're going to show today is one of the biggest. This is Hannes Wagner. And the image I am familiar with. The image appears on the Pinkerton postcard back and scorecard back and blank back. I've seen a couple of those come up for auction. They're obviously not very common. But compared to the cabinet card here, much easier to find than this one. This is one of 3 Wagner poses I mentioned earlier. So he's got 3 different images. This one's him following through on a swing. And this one's in a SGC3 holder, super high grade. And this one I would imagine came up today for auction, probably in the mid 5 figures, somewhere in the 30, 40,000, 50,000 maybe kind of range, especially in this condition, maybe even more. So just another amazing image for Hannes Wagner. The interesting thing, of course, with Wagner is his T206 card is so popular and so valuable because the print run was stopped very early on due to his reluctance, as the story goes anyway, due to his reluctance to have his cards inserted in tobacco packs. and the chance that his fans who were younger kids, that would lead them to start smoking, and he knew that was probably not a good idea for the kids' health. So he did not condone tobacco use for children. And obviously, this Pinkerton T5 cabinet card set was put out by a tobacco company. And apparently, Wagner did not have an issue with these. Maybe because they're so oversized, he didn't feel that these would be as attractive to kids, and kids might not pursue them like adults would, compared to the T206, which actually came inside the pack of cigarettes. These you had to mail away the 10 coupons, so that made it more difficult, more complicated, and maybe he thought that kids probably wouldn't go this route to pick up these cards as opposed to the others. So that's just my guess. Again, I don't have any information to document that. So that's going to wrap up today's video. A set that I really like. Of course, I happen to be a collector who enjoys pursuing the super rare sets and the Hall of Fame, the key Hall of Fame players. So this fits right into my cup of tea. From a affordability standpoint, even the commons from this set, I didn't show any, but even the commons, you're probably talking in somewhere in the $1,000 range, assuming the whole card is there and it's not in pieces or anything like that. So, so not the most affordable set, but if you're, looking for the rarest of the rare and, higher value type of stuff, if that's your thing, nothing really beats this T5 Pinkerton cabinet card set. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Have a great day, and I'll catch you guys again on the next one.